Hello, welcome to another episode of Eating Global. I'm David. I'll be taking you today on a tour of pretty much the entirety of Italy with pistachio pesto orecchiette pasta. So I'm going to make homemade orecchiette pasta, and then we're going to get into the pesto sauce part of it. So just a couple little things before we get into it. There's a lot of complexities here in this dish, and it of course makes it a delicious dish, but pesto is one of my favorite sauces, and orecchiette is one of my favorite pastas. So this makes it one of my favorite Italian dishes and one of my favorite dishes to eat in Italy. So this is a dish that I first had the real thing in Genoa, which is where pesto kind of originated. So this pesto sauce is a basil sauce, typically made with pine nuts, but I actually like to make it with pistachios, which is more of a Sicilian way of doing it. A lot of times you'll see that in Sicily with seafood dishes, but pesto with pistachio nuts is like unbelievable. First of all, it makes it like a sweeter, richer flavor, and it also gives it an amazing color because they are green along with your basil. Of course, pesto, you have to have basil, so I get a big old chunks of basil like that. Now, typically, pesto is made with a Reggiano Parmigiano cheese, which is obviously a cow cheese, but I like Pecorino Romano. This is a 7-month aged pecorino. That means it is a sheep's milk cheese, and it is so good. Now, it is a sharper, richer taste than Reggiano Parmigiano, so that's why I like it in my pesto. It brings this huge punch of giant flavor and giant richness to the sauce, and it's just, oh my gosh. So with the pistachios and the Pecorino Romano instead of pine nuts and Parmesan cheese, this is a really spectacular thing. And it's authentic too. You will see these combinations made in Italy. So we're not going outside of the norm here. So this is a very authentic and traditional dish, except we're just kind of spanning regions here. Now, orecchiette, a little bit of information about why I like this dish so much. So when I was in Genoa, Italy, we stumbled into this little place. It was just like a total stumble into anywhere. And if you've been to Italy, you know that you can literally just kind of blindly stumble into any restaurant, and it's just, or should I say ristorante or bar, bar meaning kind of like cafe in Italian. But anyway, you can just blindly stumble into any of them, and it will be the most world-class food you've ever had, right? So anyway, my buddy and I were just blindly eating, and we blindly stumbled into this place called Bar Olimpo. I'm not even really sure if it's still there or if this is all true, but anyway, I ate this orecchiette pesto dish, and it was a life-changing moment right there. And so I asked the server, I'm like, this is the best thing I've ever had. Like, this is just unbelievable. And the server goes, well, it should be because we invented pesto. I'm like, really? So I investigated a little bit more, and he went through the family story and his grandma's grandma made this dish because she had this overabundance of basil in her backyard, and she's like, what do I do with it? And she had a bunch of olive oil, and there it goes. So I don't know. Maybe that's true. Maybe that's true of every single restaurant in Genoa, but I do know that it's most likely somewhere close because pesto kind of came from Genoa. Anyway, I'm going to get off on a squirrel conversation here, but anyway, I had it at that restaurant with orecchiette pasta. Now, orecchiette is not Genovese. It's actually comes from the Puglia region, which if you look at Italy on the map, it's the heel part of Italy. So that's where orecchiette pasta comes from. Now, orecchiette is two words kind of made into one. It's orecchia, which is ear, and then ette, which is small. So it means, literally, it translates to small ear. This is a wonderful pasta to make with pesto because you can scoop it all up and kind of get it all together. I don't like it with a longer pasta, and I say that because it's kind of a slick sauce, right? It's oily, so it kind of slides off of a long pasta if you had it like on never use spaghetti, but sort of like if you had a fettuccine or something like that, it might just slide off of there a little better, whereas something in the dumpling category, like you can scoop it all together and it kind of all comes up with it. So it's a great vehicle for an oily sauce like pesto. So orecchiette, I use two different kinds of flour for this. You can use just all semolina, but semolina, let me talk a little bit about it. It is a durum wheat. It's a coarse ground durum wheat flour, so it has a high gluten content as well. Durum is a high gluten flour. or high gluten wheat. So anyway, it's going to make a really chewy, very toothsome pasta. So a lot of times with orecchietti, we do want a toothsome pasta, but not so tough it's like spongy, or like we don't want it rubbery, right? So that's where I come in with 00. Now, the Italians would call this doppio zero, and here in Ohio we call it 00. But we're gonna go with 00, I guess, because we are in Ohio. But 00 is also a wheat flour, but it's common wheat, and so it has a lower gluten content, and it's really finely ground. So this, if you made orecchietti only with 00 or doppio zero, it would be really too tender. It would just kind of fall apart and not have a toothsome bite like we want. So that's why we put some semolina in there. Now, what I'm going to do is do a 2-to-1 ratio. So we're going to do 200 grams of the semolina and 100 grams of the doppio zero or 00 flour. So there's no eggs in this. There's just the flours, a little bit of salt, and the water. So I don't usually do recipes on this channel, but for pasta and for breads and for pastries and things like that, we need really specific recipes and really specific amounts to get it right. So you can't just kind of throw it together like I'm going to do the sauce. I measure everything in grams rather than cups, because cups you can, like with flour, it could be, it could be off. You could have some air in there or whatever the case is, and it's off. So we want it to be very specific. So we're going to go with grams. So this is, again, 200 grams of semolina, 100 grams of doppio zero. There's 100 grams of 00. So you can see that is that's the 00. It's very fine, very white, common wheat. For the semolina, it has a coarser feel to it. It's kind of yellow. That's a durum wheat. So anyway, that's what we got going on there. So that is going to be our 200 grams. All right, so there we go. Now, this is just gonna take sea salt. It's a little bit coarser. I'm just gonna put a little bit of a pinch in there. Maybe, I don't know, maybe a pinch and a half, right? And I'm gonna pour this out on a table or a board or whatever you got there. Just gonna give it a little stir here to get all those different flours incorporated and get the salt in there. Okay, now I'm going to make a little crater here in the middle, just like we would do with any pasta. If we were doing an egg pasta, we would do the same thing, but this is just, of course, a water pasta. And I'm gonna go ahead and put about 150 grams of water in this. Now, this is where you have to be careful. I'm gonna start with maybe 100 and see where that goes, because we can always add water, we can't take it away, right? Now also, your humidity is going to play a difference. What's the humidity in your house? What's the humidity outside? This is going to depend on how that dough is gonna come together as well. So anyway, we just start getting that flour incorporated in the water there. There's not really a way to just do this that makes it look great. I mean, it's gonna look crazy no matter what you do, but that's okay. So as we're going here, this is just gonna be, okay, so first of all, let me get on a little soapbox here. No machines. This is all by hand, because if you put this in a mixer with a dough hook, you can really quickly start to overdevelop the gluten in this. And with orecchietti, we do not want to overdevelop the gluten. We just want a really tender, very non-overdeveloped gluten. I can't stress that more. So the other thing is, you will see some recipes say, oh, you need to knead this for 10 or 15 minutes. Well, that's not exactly true. It could be true according on what conditions you've got going on and how much water you put in it, but the more you knead it, the more you're going to develop that gluten. So the more you knead it, the tougher it's going to get. So it's better to underdevelop the gluten or under-knead it than to over-knead it. You will know. So our goal is to get this just kind of elasticy and just developed, if you will. I'm gonna add the rest of the 50 grams of water because I now know where we're kind of going here. For the first few minutes, you're gonna go like, I don't think there's enough water in this, but there is, it'll come together. Again, better to have less water to start with. You can always add, you can't take away. And if you start trying to add more flour, you're just gonna go down a rabbit hole you can't get out of. Might as well start over. While I'm kneading the dough here, I would like to take a moment to ask you how much I need your like and subscription. See what I did there? Well, anyway, if you're still with me in this video, it means you're at least halfway interested, so it would be great if you just showed me that by pushing the like and subscribe button. I have it right there for you. And I still may need more water here, so we're gonna go in with more water, just little bits of water at a time. So again, there's no exact science to the amount of water. I can't tell you a specific amount, so if you're following a recipe that says a specific amount of water, it's probably gonna be wrong. See, we're already starting to come together here in a ball. Got a little crumblies left over. So I may just add a dash more water as well. What we don't want to get into is any stickiness in that pasta. So if you start feeling the sticky, that's when you know it's time to back off on the water. So I am pretty sure now I have got enough water in here. See, we still have some crumble going on here, but we don't have gluten developed yet. So we see kind of crumbly, but that's why we're gonna need it. We're gonna start developing the gluten and get that stretchiness and that smoothness forming here. Okay, this is perfect. This is really perfect. Now I think in this specific instance, I probably used about 200 grams of water, but again, please don't take that as strict advice. It's just start with a small amount, like 100 grams, and then work up if you have to. All right, so the more we get going here, the gentler you want to knead it. We don't want to make it too warm with our hands. We don't want to make it too warm with friction, because that again will overdevelop the gluten. So just kind of play with it. Just kind of get it going here. See how we're already changing here? We're really, you don't have any crumbs left, and it kind of gets into that kind of Play-Doh consistency, right? All right, so I took a bit of a break there to get my hands cleaned off, because it's kind of like, they get caked, right? And I don't like that. So anyway, just about there, and those little cracks are becoming more stretchy. So if you feel any dryness in there at all or anything like that, which there might be, just keep going a little bit. Now, I've been at this for probably, I don't know, about 7 minutes or so. A lot of recipes, like I said, you'll see them say 10 to 15 minutes of kneading. I wouldn't go with that. Go with the visual, go with the feel, go with your emotion on what's going on here. It's not always about a specific time, because you don't want to overdevelop it. Okay, so this is the point where I'm thinking I'm not gonna get any further with this. Underdeveloped is always better. So what we're gonna do is get it into a nice little ball shape here. Now again, you have elasticity here without it crumbling. That's one of the ways you know, elasticity without crumble. Now that we have our nice dough ball formed here, what we have done is the gluten in here has been like worked out. We've taken it for a workout, we've taken it for a run, and it's like, whew, I am exhausted. And now it needs a break, because what we don't want to do is we don't want to upset it by putting it directly into a pasta shape or by boiling it immediately or anything like that. We want to just let it rest before we do anything else with it, so it's nice and happy and refreshed by the time we are ready to go. So I just get a big bowl, throw it right in there, and then we put it to bed for about 30 minutes. That way the gluten can literally relax, and I joke about it, but it's very important. You can do it for a half hour up to an hour, and that way it takes a little nap, gluten relaxes, it kind of, let's just put it in a visual form. The gluten is like stressed, it's like, ah, and then we're going to go relax it, put it to bed, and that's gonna make it more tender. You don't wanna eat this, you wanna eat this. Okay, so while the dough is taking a nap, we're going to make the pesto sauce. This is where we get really exciting. So the deal here is it's a basil-based sauce, so you need a lot of basil. Now I'm going to use 2 cups of basil here. Again, this is for my 4 to 6 serving amount. You could extrapolate this up if you wanted to, but I mean, I just love working with basil even. We're gonna take the leaves off of it mostly. We don't want the stems in there. That's no good. We don't want those. And I have a 2 cup container here. Now I'm gonna pack them down in there. We don't want it lightly. So like, you know, 2 cups of packed leaves, if you will. If you have some stem in there, that's okay. I mean, it's gonna go away, obviously. But it's amazing how much 2 cups actually is when you kind of compact the leaves. It's a lot. So while I'm packing the leaves in here, just a little bit about the origin of pesto. Like I said, it kind of originates from the Genoa or Liguria region of Italy, which is up near okay, here we go. It's in this quadrant of Italy up there, kind of closer to France. There is some unbelievable food up there. And even all the way up into France, there's just that whole region. Great wine, great food, great cheeses. It's quite the place. So it would be fitting that pesto comes from this place. So the word pesto actually comes from the origin word pestare, which is to crush, or basically to crush it in like a mortar and pestle. That's how they originally made this. Ain't gonna happen here in this kitchen. So we are going to use the food processor. I have this is an 8-cup food processor here, so don't want to go too big with it. You want to go smaller with food processors than bigger if you're going to make a smaller recipe, because you really want this to be blended well and incorporated well. So I'm just gonna start, and there's no particular order you have to throw this stuff in there. You just throw it in and kind of get it going. However, I do like to go ahead and get the nuts kind of going first. I put about a 1/4 cup of nuts in to start, and rather using pine nuts or pistachio, which I'm specifically using pistachios here. So about a 1/4 cup. I don't want it to be too nutty. I don't want it to be sort of gritty, but nutty enough, if that makes sense. So it's again, 2 cups roughly of basil, packed leaves, and roughly a 1/4 cup of pistachios. But if you like a little bit meatier texture to the sauce, you can put more in there. Of course, this is not an exact science. This is into that cooking thing, which is really cool. So I am just gonna go ahead and pulse those real quick. Okay, so those are broken up pretty well. And I'm gonna go ahead and add the basil. Now, you have to consider the olive oil as well. I use extra virgin olive oil. That's really what I would suggest using here, because it has enough pungentness in order to stand up in the sauce. We don't want it to just go away. So if you use like a light olive oil or no taste olive oil, we don't want that. We want a big, hearty, tasty, extra virgin olive oil. Around a 1/4 cup, maybe. But again, I'm just gonna make it as it looks right. I just kind of know what I want, and that's what I'm gonna get out of it. So I'm gonna start with probably a 1/4 cup, and then we'll go from there. I don't like it to be too watery or too oily, if you will, but I also don't want it to be too thick. Now for the all-important garlic. I'm going to use probably about 2 cloves to 3 cloves of garlic here. I know it's gonna be all food processed here, but I still like to use my garlic press because it peels the garlic for you, so I don't have to worry about peeling the garlic, which I just hate doing. And I'm gonna taste this. Tasting is always very important. Taste, taste, taste. I'm gonna put a hearty pinch, a 2-finger pinch of salt in there. Actually, probably a 2-finger pinch and a half there. Now comes fresh ground black pepper. Never pre-ground. It's just not good. And you want it to be nice and fragrant and delicious in here. So I'm gonna give it about half teaspoon, 1/4 to a half teaspoon, according to what you like. I'm always, I can always add more. Now we're going to put some lemon juice in there, around a tablespoon to 2 tablespoons, according to what you like. I probably have a tablespoon and a half because I don't want it to be too lemony, but I like it to accentuate the flavor, right? Now comes a controversial piece. I like to put just a dash, we're talking less than a 1/4 teaspoon of sugar in there. Not to make it sweet, but to bring that savoriness all together. It's unbelievable, just try it. We're gonna go in with our Pecorino Romano. So I'm gonna just cut it into small little chunks here. No need to grate it because it's going to be food processed. So I'm going to put about 1/4 cup in here as well. So generally about 1/4 cup on everything to start with, and then we'll taste it and see what we got. We're going to set the thing on low to start with. Now I can already see that I'm going to need more olive oil here. So I'm going to go in with another, say 4 tablespoons. I say use a smaller food processor rather than a big one because this one even may be a little bit too big for this sauce, but anyway, we'll make it work. All right, we're just about there, but I'm still gonna add more olive oil. So here's the thing, you can always, again, add. You don't wanna have to remove it, so start low and keep on going. Look at that. I mean, oof, just look at it. I'm gonna go in for a taste and see where we are. I need to regain my composure. Oh, that's an emotional taste. It's just, oh. I don't know that I need anything else here. I think I kind of hit it on the spot. I'm just gonna give it one more shot just to make sure. I think we're there. Okay, so all in, I kind of caught my breath again. Yeah, you might have to do that on this one when you taste it. But anyway, I ended up using about a 1/2 cup of olive oil there. It's way more than I thought I was going to. I don't know why that is. Sometimes I use less, sometimes I use more, and that's just the way it goes. So, don't know. That's why I don't like recipes. So I'm gonna set this aside, and then we're gonna get back to our pasta here. I've got about 8 minutes and 50 seconds of its nap time left, and then so I'll clean up, get reset, and go back to pasta time. So it is time to wake up our pasta dough. Ah, yes, it has woken. All right. Now, what we have here is a different texture than we had a 1/2 hour ago. It sort of has more of a elasticy stick to it than it did just a bit ago. Now, that towel, I forgot if I mentioned that towel that I put over it just keeps the moisture in there so it doesn't dry out too much, but you will feel that the top of that got a little drier than the bottom of it. But what we want is that nice little tacky feel, but not sticky. So it shouldn't stick to you, but it shouldn't be crumbly or anything like that. So we know that it's ready. You can feel it's nice and tender but firm. I don't know how to describe that much more than just that. I mean, that's what it looks like. I'm gonna put it out here in sort of a disc form. And then I'm gonna take one of these little whacker flapper or whatever this is called here and cut it into 4 quadrants. So we've got our 4 little pieces here. I'm just gonna make those into balls. If you do get a little too sticky in this part of your pasta making, you can get some flour out and put it on your hands just so it doesn't stick, but this is doing pretty well right now, so I don't need flour at the moment. Okay, so here's how we're gonna do it. Again, no machines, but I'm gonna roll this out to a long strand. And I'm gonna make it about a 1/2 to a 1/4 inch in diameter. Probably a 1/4 inch. And the more you play with it, the stickier it will get because you're heating it up with your hands. So again, you might need to get out some flour, and I may need to here. So I'm kind of rolling and stretching as I roll here. So you see how my hands are kind of going apart from each other here. Now you could put this on the whole table, or if you have a big table or something like that, that would work perfectly. But for the case of this video, I'm trying to get it all in the same video here, so we don't want all in the same frame at least. So you might get the urge to like stretch and pull it, but don't do that because it's just gonna break apart. So just kind of roll and do this motion to get it to stretch out. Just about a 1/4 inch in diameter. It doesn't have to be consistent all the way through because one of the beautiful things about homemade pasta and handmade pasta is that it's not consistent. I think that tastes even better. Now we're just gonna take our little whatever. You could use a knife, you could use whatever you want to do this, but you don't need anything sharp, obviously. And I'm just gonna cut it in little about 1/2 inch pieces. This is going to eventually determine what our pasta size is going to be, each little individual piece. This is a method that you could use for almost any dumpling pasta. All right, I decided to get a little flour out and just lightly flour the whole situation here because I'm getting pieces sticking together like this. So don't be afraid of flour, but just don't get too much of it in there because again, we don't want to start changing the texture. I've got all of it made up here. And now I'm just gonna take each one of these little individual pieces and literally make our little ear with them, the orecchia. And that's what it is, just make a little dimple in it. And that is a orecchiette pasta. This is where you really wanna make sure to keep everything floured because you're just gonna get them all stuck together if not. There we go. And just do this ad nauseum until you get them all done. As you can see, I've got all of the little orecchiettes made here and I've got plenty of flour down so none of them stick together. I also try to keep them separated here just enough so they don't kind of, just get clumped up like that. See, they'll stick if you're not careful. So with all that being said, it's just time to go over to the boiling water. We've got a rolling boil here. Now I just put the orecchiettes on a plate here, and I'm gonna be doing them in 2 batches because I don't like to get them clumped up together. If you put all of it in together, they sort of kind of clump together. This is a fairly delicate pasta here, so we wanna keep them separated. Just give it a nice, gentle, delicate stir. And this is gonna take just a couple minutes, if that. I'm going to taste them as we go here. Now the pasta is already tender, it's already soft, so we're just pretty much cooking the flour. It's not like a hard pasta where we're getting it soft again. Nope, this just is cooking the flour. To check for doneness on the orecchiettes, I literally just taste it. So just get it, again, it's gonna be soft. Initially, when you first put them in, it's gonna kind of shock it and it's gonna tighten up that dough. But then as the minute goes by, it's going to really start getting more tender. I don't know how to put that. Yep, all right, so it's done. I'm gonna take it off, drain it, and then next step. All right, so next steps. This is optional, so this is certainly not a have-to thing. I like to pretty much finish all of my pastas in a skillet. So I'm not looking to fry this one or I've talked in some of my videos about like getting a texture on pasta, something like that. No, that's not what this is. It's pretty much to incorporate the sauce into the pasta and kind of get the sauce warmed up because again, we didn't cook that sauce. It is not warm. So I just want to make sure to get it all put together before we put it in the plate. What I can't stand is to put pasta in a plate and then just dump sauce over it. That's not cool. It may taste the same, but trust me, presentation, not cool. And I think there might be something texturally there that's just not right. If you have your guest or even yourself, if you're eating it, you have to stir it in the plate. No. It should be already ready to eat when you get it. Now I'm gonna get the skillet going, just medium heat or less, somewhere between low and medium. We don't wanna sear it or brown it or anything like that, just enough to warm up the sauce and keep the pasta warm. We're gonna go in with some more extra virgin olive oil in the pan, in the skillet, to make sure it doesn't stick. And also, very important, use a non-stick pan for any pasta skilleting. Non-stick is very important. A lot of times I use cast iron for everything, and I preach cast iron and I say it's the best thing on the planet, except for pasta. Do it in a non-stick pan. Just bite the bullet, get a non-stick pan, and do it in there. Get enough olive oil in there so it doesn't stick again, and then just throw your pasta in. Now this is gonna be important to keep it moving. And I'm just gonna go in with the pesto sauce. All right, just stir it all together. So there we go. The whole thing is kind of steaming, so that means the sauce has heated up. Oh, and please do remember, we've got a heck of a lot of cheese in there, so that's gonna melt a little bit and kind of start coating the pasta. Oh my goodness, are we doing something special here today? Now, if you do have a keep warm function on one of your ovens or something like that, I do have a little trick here. I like to keep my plates in there that I'm gonna dish up on so they're warm. So just to keep warm setting around 150 degrees. Okay, so the finishing touches are here. I'm going to plate up. Now, I have my 150 degree plates here. I just like serving pasta on a warm plate. I also like a big, dramatic, oversized, intimidating plate to serve it on. Because if you have a big, dramatic, intimidating pasta dish, why not serve it on a drama plate? Don't just put it on a paper plate, okay? So we'll just throw some right in the middle here. If you're serving it up, about a cooked cup and a half is probably about enough if you want that hearty portion. And then naturally, what we have to then do is drown it with more Pecorino Romano cheese. And then, why not just throw a garnish on there of a basil leaf, throw a piece of bread on the side. I do even like to serve with a little side or appetizer of Castelvetrano olives. They're from Italy and they are amazing olives. Again, Castelvetrano olives go really good with this dish. I also like to do a little bread dip thing here. This is extra virgin olive oil. And then I've got Alessi balsamic reduction. This stuff is pure magic. Oh my goodness, you are gonna like it. So I just do a drizzle. A drizzle of that. And then some Alessi dipping spices, which is just kind of an Italian herb blend. It's also got salt in there. Just grated all over the top. And you're gonna have yourself an amazing meal. And now is time for the most important part, the taste test. Okay. Italian paradise. Oh my goodness. Again, we have had the Pistachio Pesto Orecchiette pasta. This is going to really treat you well. You're going to feel amazing making this dish. If you're serving it to guests, they're gonna be blown away. And I don't know what else to say, but you gotta try this. If you've never had it, oh my goodness. If you don't have time to make homemade pasta with it, that's understandable. Just make sure to get a decent orecchiette pasta that is in the store or somewhere, not like just the cheapest thing you can find. It's, there's some good dry orecchiettes out there. It's hard to find fresh, but anyway, if you wanna do something really special, make your own orecchiette. It's not very hard. It just takes a couple hours to do this. So that's all I'm saying. Again, this is probably a 3 to 4 serving amount that I've made here. And you could just add the numbers and make that as much as you want. You could make a huge batch of this if you wanted to. Anyway, I'm gonna wrap this one up and I will see you somewhere around the world on Eating Global on the next one. Take care.